Jack didn't even take Advil for headaches. The thought of his stepdaughter getting regular shots of a narcotic would be difficult for him to accept. In light of her injuries, it's likely she'll be on it for some time, the doctor said. Turning to Lisa, she continued, "Do you remember what happened that brought you here?" Lisa thought for a moment, but the only memories that surfaced were of other hospital rooms, these ones with beds that held her sister. She tried to shake her head, but pain slithered up her neck and she could only grimace. "Is it necessary that she remember?" her mother asked. "What if it's too painful?" Her voice trailed off. The doctor ignored her. "You've been in a coma, Lisa, and it's important to determine if you have any significant memory loss. Think back. Do you remember the last thing you were doing?" Lisa tried to concentrate, and for a while her mind was as blank as the white ceiling above her. Then a memory of another hospital room floated out of her subconscious. A room that didn't have Ellen in it. Instead, there were dishes on the floor and an old man. She tried to tell them. "Old man," she murmured. "Van?" asked Jack. "Did you say Van, honey?" Her mother clutched her stepfather's arm. "She must be remembering the accident," she whispered. Accident? The memory of the old man and the dishes vanished as Lisa's mind grasped at the word. Accident? What had happened? Had she gone off the road? Hit someone? Had someone been hurt because of her? Without knowing it, she began to moan. "Lisa, it's important that you don't upset yourself," said Dr. Mahoney. "I'm going to give you something to calm you down." She reached for the IV, but Lisa was barely aware of the doctor's movements. Unconsciously, she clawed at the sheet beneath her right hand, caught and twisted it between her fingers. Accident? And then it came to her, out of nowhere, like the object that had struck her windshield. Crash, she sobbed, her head filled with sudden sounds and images of metal colliding with metal. Not like in the movies, though, where the scene would play out in slow motion, frame after frame after frame. These were quick and final, like hitting the wall with your fist. Whump, whump. Twice, 3 times. She'd lost count as the cars had careened into her, could only watch them coming and hold on, and scream. Lisa sobbed again. Crash, she moaned, the words slurred this time by tears. "So, what do you think?" Lisa's eyes fluttered open long enough to see her stepfather standing by her bed, then closed again. Her eyelids were folds of lead. She would need her fingers to keep them open, but they were attached to hands heavy as houses. Useless. "I'd like to say the worst is over, but that wouldn't be entirely true." The doctor, syllables like water tumbling over itself. "But she's out of the coma now," her mother's voice, high and thin, like a guitar string wound pitched tight. "That has to be good news." "Yes, Mrs. Morrison, it is good news, but the coma hasn't been our greatest concern. That was her body's means of preparing itself for the healing process." "So she is healing, getting better," Jack again. "All the tests indicate her brain activity is normal." "Thank God." Lisa forced her eyelids apart again, momentarily saw her mother dab at her eyes with a tissue. Jack's hand on her arm. Lisa wanted to tell them that she was awake, but her eyes wouldn't let her. The dark came down again. "No, this has been very difficult for you," the doctor was saying softly, "especially following the loss of your other daughter." Lisa tried to open her eyes again, could not. Has she slept? "You don't know. No one can. It's like a bad movie that won't end." Lisa heard her mother blow her nose. It was a sound of hospital waiting rooms and funeral homes. Then something crept into her mother's voice, something hard, whip-like. And then to sit in court and watch that lawyer try to make excuses for what that boy did, her tone made the word boy sound as ugly as pustule or gangrene. How can he sleep at night? I'm sure he's just doing his job. It was the doctor who offered this. I mean, the son of a bitch who did all this, how can he look himself in the mirror? Someone did this, Lisa thought. To me? An image swam out of her memory. Someone waving. At her. Someone did this? The image shimmered, fragmented, dissolved. "That's not for me to say," Dr. Mahoney replied. "I'm more concerned about how all this affected your daughter." A curtain drifted over Lisa. She fought it, struggled to pull it back. Tears leaked out of the corners of her eyes, slid in increments down the sides of her face. One hung suspended from her jaw, and she rolled it to fall to the sheets, but it wouldn't. "Is there something you haven't told us?" Even with her eyes closed, Lisa could sense her stepfather's distrust of hospitals and doctors and drugs. She heard the doctor draw a long breath and let it out slowly. "It's not what I haven't told you. You've known every detail of Lisa's condition from the moment she was brought in here. It's what Lisa doesn't know that bothers me." The curtain again, drawn lazily over her mind. "No," thought Lisa, "not now," but the curtain wouldn't listen. "What is it? What don't I?"